Think and Grow Rich isn't something you just read once. It's something you become. What if I told you the lesson Darby learned after walking away from millions was later mastered by a little girl asking for 50 cents? Not $50, not 500, 50 cents. It sounds laughable until you realize this little girl understood something about success that grown men still struggle to learn. Napoleon Hill tells this story immediately after the famous 3 feet from gold lesson in Think and Grow Rich. And that's no accident, because one story shows you why men quit, and the next story shows you why winners don't. The settling couldn't have been more ordinary. An old country mill, dust floating through the air, the slow rhythm of heavy machinery echoing through the building, and a hard-working uncle focused on his work. Then, the door opened. A little girl quietly walked inside. She wasn't there to play. She wasn't curious. She had a mission. Her mother had sent her to collect that 50 cents. Just 50 cents. She walked over to her uncle, looked him dead in the eyes, and politely asked for the money. Her uncle barely looked up. No! One word, cold and final. Most people would have accepted the answer. Most children would have heard that loud no and turned back around, gone home, explained to their mom they tried. But she didn't move. She stood there, silent, waiting. The uncle went back to work, certain the conversation was over. It wasn't. Minutes passed. The machines kept running. The mill kept working. Every time he looked up, she was still standing there, watching him, waiting. She wasn't arguing. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging. She simply refused to leave. She wasn't stronger. She wasn't louder. She wasn't older. She wasn't more powerful. But there was something inside that little girl that Darby didn't have the day he walked away from that gold mine. And before the story is over, that single difference will change everything. Most people hear the word no and they leave. They assume the answer is final. They assume the opportunity is gone. They assume the conversation is over. That's exactly what happened to Darby. The mountain said no. The gold disappeared. So he walked away. But this little girl heard the same word and responded very differently. She didn't argue. She didn't complain. She didn't negotiate. She simply stood there. The uncle finally looked up from his work. His patience was gone. His face hardened. His voice grew louder. I told you no. Still, she didn't move. The room became quiet. The workers stopped what they were doing. Everyone could feel the tension. Everyone knew this man's temper. They knew he didn't play. They seen it before. Then it happened. Then the uncle grabbed a thick wooden stick. He raised it in the air and he started walking towards the little girl. Now everyone knew what was coming. Surely the little girl would run. Any smart child would. Any reasonable person would. The distance between them got smaller and smaller. One step, then another. The uncle towered over her, stick still raised. The room froze. Something happened that nobody expected. Instead of running, the little girl took one step forward, looked him directly in the eye, and said with complete certainty, my mama's gotta have that 50 cents. No fear, no hesitation, no doubt, just certainty. For a moment, time stood still. The uncle stared at her. The stick slowly lowered. Then, without another word, he reached into his pocket, pulled out 50 cents, and placed it in her hand. The little girl turned around, walked away quietly. She didn't celebrate. She didn't boast. She simply left. Ha ha! With exactly what she came for. Napoleon Hill said he witnessed that moment himself, and he never forgot it. Because in a single moment, a little girl conquered a grown man. Not with force, not with power, but with absolute certainty. What's up, big dogs? Check out our daily devotional. You can find it on Amazon, link in the description. Pick it up right now. Years passed. The gold mine was gone. The dream was over, but the story wasn't. Because according to Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich, R.U. Darby never forgot that little girl. At first, he didn't understand why. She was just a child asking for 50 cents. What could that possibly have to do with the fortune buried beneath a mountain? Years later, he finally understood. The mountain hadn't defeated him, he had defeated himself. The gold didn't disappear, his persistence did. That little girl possessed the one thing he abandoned in Colorado. She refused to accept no as the final lesson, and that lesson changed the course of his life. Darby eventually entered the life insurance business, a business built on rejection. Every day someone says no. No, I'm not interested. No, not today. No, another time. Most salesmen hear more no's than anybody, and they quit, just like they quit the gold mine. But Darby was different now. Every time a door closed, he remembered that little girl. Every time someone rejected him, he remembered her standing in the mill. Every time it would have been easier to walk away, he saw her stepping 1 foot forward. He realized something that transformed his career. No is often a test, not a verdict. A test of how badly you want what's on the other side. Most people hear no and start doubting themselves. They hear 10 no's, they quit. But Darby learned that persistence isn't simply staying busy. Persistence is refusing to let temporary defeat become a permanent decision. It's refusing to let rejection define your future. It's refusing to walk away just because the answer isn't yes yet. So every time somebody told him no, he didn't hear the end. He heard another opportunity to persist. Every time someone slammed the door, he saw that little girl standing in the doorway. Calm, certain, unmoving, refusing to leave without what she came for. The single memory shaped the way he lived, the way he worked, the way he faced rejection, and eventually it reshaped his future. The fortune he lost in the mine became the lesson that earned him millions. Every man has a 50-cent moment. It probably won't happen in an old mill. It probably won't involve 50 cents, but it will happen. For some, it's a conversation. For others, it's a rejection letter, a failed business, a YouTube channel that won't grow, a promotion that never comes, a relationship that falls apart, a dream that suddenly feels impossible. The details change, the lesson never does. At some point, life is going to look you in the eyes and tell you no. And in that moment, you'll have a decision to make. Will you respond like the man who walked away from the gold mine? Or will you respond like the little girl who refused to leave? That's the real test. Not whether you'll face rejection, you will. Not whether you experience temporary defeat, because you will. Not whether life will challenge your belief, because it will. The question is, what will you do after you hear no? Because maybe, just maybe, life isn't rejecting you. Maybe it's revealing you. Maybe it's asking one question. How badly do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to hear no and keep going? Do you want it bad enough to keep digging when the gold disappears? Do you want it bad enough to stand your ground when someone expects you to walk away? Because every great dream, every great business, every great purpose, every great calling eventually reaches a doorway where most people turn around. Not because the dream ended, because the test began. Napoleon Hill understood something that most people never do. Temporary defeat is often the price of admission. Persistence is what pays the rest. That's why these two stories belong together. The man who stopped 3 feet from gold wasn't remembered because he failed. He was remembered because he learned. He learned that one more step, one more attempt, one more act of persistence can change your entire life. The little girl taught him what a mountain never could. That no doesn't always mean never. Sometimes it simply means, show me how bad you want it. And from that moment forward, Darby never looked at rejection the same way again. He stopped treating no as a dead end and started treating it as a doorway. And that single decision changed the rest of his life. So before you quit, before you walk away, before you bury the dream, ask yourself one question. What if I'm only 3 feet away? Like and subscribe if you like the vibe. Share if you care. Thinkers are us. And based on your watch history, YouTube recommends this video for you on the screen.